Alright, good morning everyone. Welcome to the first video. My name's Greg, and it is coming up to that time of year where Christmas is just around the corner. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make one of these lovely Christmas trees. It's very popular for me this time of year, so I thought I'd share it with you. So for this project, as you can see behind me, it stands quite tall. I'm going to be using reclaimed pallet wood for this. I've planed it all down. Dimensions are 36 inches, I don't know if you can see that, by 2 inches by 5/16 thick, or in English money, 920mm thick, 50mm wide, and 15mm thick. Now for this project I'm going to be using 2 pieces, and we're going to be cutting each piece. I do have my notes here, don't worry. I've got one piece at 20 inches with a 45-degree bevel, one piece at 18 inches with a 45-degree bevel, and one piece at 14 inches with a 22.5-degree bevel on each side. The bottom piece is made up of 5.5 inches, and each beveled angle is again 22.5, following the corners. So join me at the miter saw and we'll get it cut. Okay, so we're at the miter saw and we're gonna put on our PPE glasses, ear defenders, and we're gonna make the first cut. So our first cut is gonna be at 45-degree bevel. Okay, so that's the 45, and I'm just going to write on that 45 because I'm going to need to know it for future. Now with that 45, where I've just made that cut, what you want to do is flip the board over and mark out 20 inches long to long, which I'll explain in a moment. So with that cut, with that marked out, we're going to set the bevel to 22.5, line it up, and make that cut. Now, long to long, if I hold it like this, we have top of the 45 and the tip of the 22.5. So this corner here to here is long to long. This corner to this corner would be long to short, and short to short as another example. So now what we're going to do, we are going to cut our 18-inch piece again with a 45 and a 22.5. Again, flip the board, and we're going to measure 18 inches. Bloody lovely day today for October. And then set it to 22.5 and make the cut again. One 18 piece, one 20-inch piece, and we're just going to label those on the outside, 20 and 18. Now we need to make our 14-inch. Leave your saw on 22.5, flip it over, and make that 14-inch mark. again, that 14 inches long to long. And I'm going to mark the bottom. I'm just going to write 14 on there. Now, with the offcut from the first piece, you've already got 22.5. So now we're going to measure 5.5 inches. And I'll put my screws down. And again, you want the cuts to be parallel. Mark that on the bottom, 5.5, so we know. Let's head back inside and we'll get it assembled. So, with all your 4 pieces cut, you should have one 20-inch piece, one 8-inch piece, one 14-inch piece, and one 5.5-inch piece. Lay them all out. Now what you want to do is set up a sander. I'm just going to use my random orbital with a little bit of 120 grit. We're going to sand these down with a little bit of 120 grit. And don't forget, when sanding, always wear a face mask and eye protection. PPE, very important. You don't want to be breathing stuff in. So now we've got all our pieces nice and sanded down, and what we're going to do, I'm going to use CA glue and a little bit of activator. You can use normal glue, but this holds amazing, and I must admit I've only just started using this stuff recently, and I am dead impressed, absolutely dead impressed. Right, so first what we're going to do is take our 20-inch and find that 45-degree bevel. And what we're going to do, now we've got those angles, get your CA glue and just put a little bit on the edge here. Just on the edge there. You don't need a lot of this stuff. A little bit of activator. You just want to hold that there for about 10 seconds, nice and firm in place. And then you want to get your 14-inch piece, both bevels, and this is going to sit just in there, nice and snug. Right, so you will have to apply a little bit of pressure to the end result, just while it holds. So with this one, very easy. I'm going to start with this edge, the 14-inch piece, and I'm going to apply a little bit just there. A little bit of activator on the end grain, and we're just going to squeeze very tightly. And then with our last piece in this corner, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a little bit along there, CA glue, and we're just going to spray that end grain, and then we're going to bring it together and just squeeze. Just hold it tight for a few seconds, like that. Okay, now I've got a little bit of an overhang here on this corner, so if you can see that, but that's fine because I can sand that down. And then with your 5.5-inch piece, this bit is probably the easiest bit. I'm not even going to mark the centre of this or this. I'm just going to eyeball it and stick it out like that. So again, just a little bit of CA glue, a little bit there, a little bit there, and a little blob in the middle. I mean, if you want to find centre, you can find centre. That's entirely up to you. I just like to eyeball it, and we're just going to hold that. And that's it. Job done. Okay, so with that assembled, as you just saw, you should have something like this. Now this is that edge that I was telling you about. That's fine. That's fine, because like I said, I'm going to sand that down. Looks alright. It's quite nice from pallet wood. So I'm going to get this sanded down. And another thing to say is, you know, once you've CA glued it, or if you've just got normal wood glue, like I've got somewhere hiding, if you're just going to use a little bit of Gorilla Glue, what I would do is get a little bit of blue tape, and when you've glued them together, just hold it for a few minutes, rub wood together, and just allow that wood to sort of stiffen up a bit with the glue, and then put a bit of blue tape around there to hold it. And then what you can do, which I'll show you on this one I made the other day, is you can fire a couple of pins in there. And the pins that I used for that one, because the wood's quite thick, is, excuse me, just some of those. They are 18 G brad nails. It's 32mm, inch and a quarter, and they will hold it fine. I just fire 2 into the top, the bottom there, and the bottom sort of going up. And then if you want to, you can fire some into the bottom. But again, this is pallet wood, it's quite thin, and the CA glue for this demonstration will hold fine. But as you can see, I have used it in the thicker wood. And with that wood, it was reclaimed wood, but it was reclaimed 1x8 that I ripped into 2-inch strips as well. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to get back to this, get it sanded down. Okay, so all sanded down now. Don't know if you can see that. There we go. So as you can see, that's where the overhang was. Sanded down nice and flush. No gaps there at all. It's lovely, and that's why we want that pinch. You know, I'm not worried about any old nail holes. You know, I think I might have to just sand that edge down a bit there. So I'll crack on with that quickly, and then we'll get it finished. When it comes to apply finish, there's loads of different ways you could build these. You could just do a nice simple wax stain, you could burn it, or you can simply leave it as is and put like a nice dye on it, and finish it with a little bit of gloss or a little bit of paint, or even a little bit of yacht varnish if you want to put it outside. I'm going to be using for this a little bit of wax, because I quite like this stuff. Now this is dusty, for one. Liberon wax polish black bison. You probably can't read that, I don't know if my phone's the right way around. And this is medium oak. Now you can get this in antique pine, which looks absolutely lovely, and this original one is antique pine finish. So as you see, it's brought it out quite nice. And the medium oak is just a little bit darker. So I'm going to apply the medium oak just so you can see the two. Okay. Liberon steel wool. Pop this off. Let me get my old chisel. Now you should be wearing gloves for this, but I don't have any. so I'm just going to wash my hands. And I'm just going to use a little bit on the steel wool, and I'm just going to brush it on. Right, so the wax is applied. I don't know how well you can see the colouring on there. So you can see there's a little bit of cleaning up to do, but that medium oak wax has really made it come out. And again, Liberon Black Bison medium oak. And what I've used to apply it is Liberon steel wool, and the grade, I don't know if you can see that, is 0, so really fine. And then gonna let that sit for 5 minutes. Now I've buffed it. Just gonna get some kitchen towel, just box down a kitchen towel, and I'm just gonna wipe off any excess, really get into those corners. And don't be silly like me, wear a mask. I've just remembered that I forgot to put mine on, but I do have all my doors open for fresh air. So we're just going to wipe that off and buff it around a little bit. And you know, don't worry about beating it around on sorry, I just scared my missus. Don't worry about beating it around. It's rustic, it's farmhouse, you know. You want to see marks, and you know, you're advertising it as reclaimed pallet wood, you know, so all those little extra dinks that you think, oh shit, you know, better be a bit more careful. No, don't. You know, you're advertising it as reclaimed. You're advertising it as rustic, you know. And I'm not going to be worried about dropping it, but I'm going to be selling it with a nail hole in it anyway. So, next question. People are probably thinking, how much would I charge for something like this? Well, if you're selling on Etsy, you've got to cover the costs of the shipping, the Etsy sale, and the advertisement. You know, and depending on where you're watching this, it could be 6 cents, I think, plus that's just for the fee. So I don't know what shipping would be in America. I haven't got an absolute Scooby. But over here, I would probably charge something like this in this finished state for around £15, maybe £10 to £15. And on Marketplace, again, I would sell it for £15. Well, if you managed to stick it out to the end of the video so far, or this far into the video, a massive thank you. So this is my first video. I hope you've liked it. If you have, please like, subscribe if you want to, or I'll just leave a comment. And if you want some more videos, because I will be doing some more, hit the notification bell, and then you'll get notified when I put up a new video.